Hello and welcome back to more content, this time courtesy of the recent FIA race around Brands Hatch in the GR4 cars. This is of course a manufacturer's race and I very nearly didn't upload it at all, and you'll probably get a bit of a feel for why fairly quickly. But what I want to do in this one is start with something a little bit different, and that is the moral of the story. Now I know that seems a little bit backwards to start with the moral of a story you haven't yet seen, but I guess what I'm trying to say is if you've watched some of my content before and you've watched my live streams before, then you probably at some point either asked me yourself or seen someone in the chat ask me, how do I get better? How do I get faster and more competitive and try and get better results in my daily sport races or FIA race? And my answer to that is most likely, very wisely, practice. Lots and lots of practice. The more you can do, the better. The more practice you do, the more experience you gain, and the more experience you've got, the better you'll be. Mostly, obviously not to everyone, but for the most part, that's pretty sound advice. So with that advice in mind, I of course had done almost no practice for this race whatsoever. But let's be honest, if I came onto one of these videos and said I'd done a ton of practice and I'd been doing it all week and I was really pumped up and ready to go, you'd probably wonder who the hell you were watching and unsubscribe. So I think I managed to do a grand total of 10 laps in the lead up to this race, and Brands Hatch is a circuit that I do know. It's not one like the made up circuits in Gran Turismo that I have to come in and kind of remember how it goes and the way the corners go and where the braking markers are. It all sort of flows quite naturally to me at Brands Hatch. Such a wonderful circuit that I really do enjoy. So I kind of felt semi-confident in the Porsche, which is a fairly nice GR4 car to drive anyway. Fairly gentlemanly and forgiving. So I was able to just jump in, pump out a few laps, and in qualifying I actually in practice, I actually set a 1 minute 29.2. And whilst that's not going to set the world alight and it's not going to get me on a top 10 leaderboard, it's actually a fairly decent time, and I thought if I can replicate something similar to that in qualifying, then I may not be in bad stead. And because I do know the track quite well, if I can qualify maybe in and around the top 10, maybe just outside of, then with my racecraft and good tyre wear and good tyre management, I might be able to pull that through. Maybe not for a top 5, but certainly inside the top 10. Now, the lap you just watched before, that was actually my qualifying lap, and I'm not sure if you were paying attention to the position I got, but yeah, it was a 130. It wasn't quite the 129 I was hoping for, and given that I got dropped into the top spot, this is how I went. Yes, probably not my best qualifying position. In fact, I genuinely believe that is the first time I've ever qualified in dead last. So my tactic at this point was simply to drive the race out, protecting my tyres, go easy on the tyres. I knew from Discord and from reading chat around that some of the other cars and manufacturers really struggled with tyre wear, especially after sort of the 4 to 5 lap mark. And it's something I kind of confidently assured myself anyway, that the Porsche should be okay with. The tyre wear was good, and you can tell from this first lap I'm taking it very easy. I'm not too worried about trying to overtake people and stuff it up the inside. I wanted to keep that tyre squeal to a minimum through the corners. I didn't want to brake too late, accelerate too hard, really start to protect my tyres. Now it's always a little bit harder up the back here because everyone's racing for sheep stations, and as you can see, these three guys in front, Tassie Tiger getting all kinds of skew whiffing out of shape there. I got a much better run onto the straight, tucked in behind Tassie Tiger, but there was nothing I could do, so I just rolled right out of it. I thought I'd protect a bit of fuel at the same time, and but yeah, from here, I really just wanted to tag onto the back of those guys. I just kind of wanted to go with them, and if someone fell off the track, made a mistake, something stupid like that, then I would obviously pick up the position, but for now, my tactic was not to try and streak forward. Unfortunately, even though I wasn't streaming, I kind of got around this corner and just switched my brain off. I started looking out elsewhere. Next thing I know, I'd run off the track, speared into the wall. I really don't understand what was going through my head at the time, but what it did do was put me now not only last, but 3.5 seconds or more. It was actually nearly 3.7, 3.8 seconds towards the end of it, off the back of the field, and I really did at this point think, I'm just racing so I don't get smashed in the DR. I'm never going to upload this. So I'll jump forward a little bit. You can see we're now on lap 4. My tyres are still in pretty good condition. Piper looks to be struggling a heck of a lot more than I am, getting very, very sideways. He actually did a pretty good job to clean it all up there. But again, I'm starting to think to myself, and I can see a penalty ahead in 17th. I'm starting to think now's not the time to really start shoving people out of the way. Just sit here. You want to try and get through a heap of laps now while everyone else is struggling, going a bit too hard at the start. And then at the end, I'm on a shorter tyre strategy and I've got a little bit more grip. So you can see another run on Piper, but I just backed it off there, rolled out of it and let him go. It's always very hard to race so close to someone, especially when they're running out of tyres. You don't really know what their grip is. But the key thing was I just backed off early, made sure I didn't plough into the back of him, because penalties really are one of the things that screw you over the most in FIA races. Fortunately for me, he actually just fell off the track by himself, and I just got right out of the throttle there, even maybe applied a little bit of brake, and he spun in front of me, got away with it nice and clean. So at this point, I'm still in 18th, but you can see a lot of people starting to jump in the pits already on lap 5. I'm wanting to do another couple of laps yet. So I've shot through to 15th position as I just squeezed past John there coming out of the pits. But I'm in 15th position. It's now lap 6, so I'm really kind of hoping that everybody that stayed out on the track is starting to fall off. And you can actually see that all the way through to 11th position, they're grouping up. I'm now with them, bearing in mind I was 3.5 seconds off second last place. I haven't done anything outstanding. My lap times, you can see on the right hand side, have not been good, but they have been very consistent. 31s every single lap for the last 4. So if it wasn't for that stupid brain fart on lap number 1, I really should have and could have been a number of positions further forward than where I am now. So John, I've just tucked him behind. He's come out of the pits on fresh tyres. I'm not too worried about him and how he's going at this point. I've let him go through. I just kind of want to stick close and hopefully, as I say, the tyres. In fact, if you look at my front left tyre, it's nearly down to half. And this is probably the first period. Lap 6 is the first lap I really noticed a drop of performance. So the car does go quite well on the worn tyres, and tyre wear has been pretty good, but at the same time I haven't been driving too aggressively. I've sort of kept some discipline in terms of not turning my steering wheel too far and slowing down till the car turns anyway. But you can see Barnstone Worth there. I figured he was going in the pits, and he did, so it was just very easy going through that. Maybe gave him a little bit of a kiss on the way into the pits. Nothing untoward there. I took on a little bit more fuel than I thought. I had been kind of backing off a bit, but you can see the diamond is nearly 2 full bars in front of where it is. But I get out, and again, at this point, I come out in, I think, is it 18th position? 17th position behind Tassie Tiger, who we saw earlier on in the race, getting a bit skew-whiff. And to be honest, I'm probably going to jump forward here a number of laps. It's lap 7 at the moment. Nothing really changes. Everyone's kind of got their pit stops out of the way, and the people who are no-stopping it are much further up the road. So again, I kind of go back into the point where I just want to grind out the lap times. I did all of those 31s in a row. I just want to get back to that. It's not a great time, I know, but it does look after the tyres. And the advantage is I now have a smaller stint to get out of the tyres, and certainly some of the people in front of me on the road are now 2 laps worse off on their tyres than I am. And of course, I really am hoping that the people who tried to no-stop it run out of grip in a big way. So we've jumped forward now to lap 9, a couple of laps further in. My tyre wear's a little bit more aggressive, I guess, because I just wanted to keep up with Tassie Tiger. He had a little bit more pace than me, and I thought if I just can stick close enough to get his slipstream, then he might sort of drag me up. Even though he was a little bit quicker earlier on, he might drag me up towards the back of the pack. But I got a really good run on him there. He'd been starting to struggle on tyres, and a nice clean overtake up the inside there. Didn't have to do anything too brave or silly, and obviously he did look after me. But I'm going to fast forward right up to the very last lap now. Still in 16th position. I've managed to pull about a 7/10 gap over Tassie Tiger. This here in front of the CRR Blitz. It's great to see the CRRs on the track. That is, of course, Speedy Chicken Man. He did attempt to no-stop it, and I'm not sure if he got out of the way for me there or if he had just plumb run out of grip. I know he had a really bad time. In fact, he said on Discord he was as far as 8 seconds slower in the last 2 laps. And you can also see Black Armour just way off in the distance there. So I've inherited another position from someone who was running out of grip because they'd been on their tyres far too long. I don't know if he was trying to no-stop it or if he just pitted earlier than me. But either way, my tyres in much, much better condition. He'd run off the track, and I managed to shoot through. The next thing that gave me some hope was that Pro Sim in front of us here in 13th position has quite a substantial penalty, something like 5.6, 5.8 seconds if memory serves me. So I knew that all I had to do was stay within that. I'm only a second back at the moment, and I knew I just had to stay close enough that when he served that penalty, I would shoot past. Now, CRR Ranger, it's great to see yet another CRR up there. Formerly Ranger driver, or ring driver as I call him usually on the streams. He was one ahead in 12th position as well. So Pro Sim here going to have to serve his penalty. There's nothing he can do. He does, of course, ghost, but I try and avoid, although I probably just clipped him a little bit there. But sometimes that ghosting doesn't work very well. I've got my fuel pretty much spot on. I'm going to cross the line with about 0.1 laps of petrol left. Unfortunately, I couldn't get any closer to CRR Ranger, but nonetheless, I started in 19th and dead last position. I dropped back 3.8 seconds on lap 1. I just stuck it out, raced clean, I raced smooth. 13th is not the best position to recover. I understand it's pretty bad. 752 points is not a good position. But people, if you take anything away from this, number 1, do lots more practice than I did. And number 2, no matter how bad the start of your race is, stick it out and be consistent. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you all next time. But for now, it's goodbye.